This is Sunrise Extra, streaming live on Wave Now.
Hey, you're watching Wave Sunrise Extra on Wave Now. So many more local headlines we want to get to this morning and plenty of weather.
Yeah, today is an alert day, so we're going to be expecting some pretty big storms later.
Yeah, we're watching a lot of heavy rain. We're going to be talking about some strong winds as well within some of these storms. And you know, my neighbors know that we're going to get a lot of rain when they start to see me putting out my rain buckets.
That must be a good sign as a neighbor.
That's how you know if you live in my neighborhood that we're getting heavy rain, because I've already put those out. For those of you heading out, what we're dealing with right now, though, is plenty of sunshine across the region. Peeking into Simpsonville, that sun beaming down. We do have some upper level clouds there off into the distance, and we'll be watching more of those showers eventually moving our way. I mentioned, if you're watching us on Sunrise, that potential for a few isolated downpours trying to pop, and we're seeing that happening right now for those of you in Jefferson County in Indiana, and also watching another set of downpours that are going to try to pop for those of you in Adair County. So we'll be keeping an eye on all of this. Keep in mind that we do have a flood watch in place for those of you east of Louisville for this afternoon and into the evening because of that heavy rainfall that's coming your way and the heavy rainfall that you've already seen. So what we're going to be looking at for this morning, a couple of isolated showers here and there. Certainly not going to rule that out. Once we get towards lunch, this is when our shower chances will go up. More of those thunderstorms moving our way. Some of these can produce the torrential rainfall, the gusty winds that I mentioned. Really keeping an eye on that noon to 7 p.m. time frame for some of the strongest storms to push through. Then once we get into later on this evening, rain chances drop off, but they don't completely go away. By the way, we do have a marginal risk of severe weather in place for our entire region for today, mainly because of the damaging wind threat. But of course, that flooding threat, that flash flooding threat, is something that we certainly cannot forget about or discount as we head into the next few days. Olivia?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tawana. Now is the time to get prepared with those rounds of storms expected to roll into our area later today. Download the Wave Weather app to get all the latest alerts sent to your phone. It uses your exact location so it can follow you and give you updates for exactly where you are. It's free to download in the App Store.
New this morning, the wife of former Clark County Sheriff Jamie Knoll wants a new judge to handle her case. Misty Knoll's lawyers say Judge Larry Medlock is biased. Judge Medlock is considering revoking a plea deal Knoll made earlier this month. She's accused of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on the new Chapel EMS credit card. The judge set a hearing for Knoll to explain why she pled guilty to that in court, but then gave interviews where she defended her actions. Knoll's lawyers say that plea deal should not be revoked, and Judge Medlock is targeting Misty. They point to Judge Medlock attending an auction of Jamie Knoll's property in May. The next hearing in the case is set for August 12th.
One of the 3 men found guilty in the Crystal Rogers case wants his conviction tossed out and a new trial. Joseph Lawson's attorneys argue he faced an unfair and prejudiced jury. They claim Judge Charles Sims did not dismiss jurors based on whether they knew about Joseph's father, Steve Lawson's trial. He was convicted on conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence charges. On top of that, Lawson's attorneys argue their client was collateral damage in a case against co-defendant Brooks Hauk. Lawson's motion will be heard at his August 21st sentencing, where he and Hauk both face the maximum recommended time behind bars.
This morning, a 19-year-old accused of killing another teen will appear in court. Sean Grady is charged with murder, attempted murder, and assault. An arrest warrant says he was playing basketball in the California neighborhood in February when he and 2 others took out a gun and shot and killed a 14-year-old. Police say Grady and the others then shot at other teens who were running away, injuring 2 of them. LMPD says security video and digital data put Grady at the scene. Grady was arrested in Indiana. Police say they recovered a gun from his car that matches the one used in the shooting. Grady is scheduled to be arraigned at 9 this morning.
A Louisville group wants to spark new change that will lead to fewer shootings. The Community Connections group is holding a public meeting tonight to roll out a new 30-point plan. It's at 5:30 at their location on Montgomery Street. Leaders of the group called what's happening this summer a crisis. They agree there's not one solution, and they don't expect changes to happen overnight, but they have to start somewhere.
I believe that when we ask kids to lay down weapons, get out of gangs, we have to replace it with something else. We have to talk about jobs. We have to talk about education.
Community Connections says the meeting is open to Metro leaders, nonprofits, and anyone who's concerned about keeping Louisville safe.
And we're learning more about one of the most recent victims. 17-year-old Dunia Tuhania was shot and killed this week on Poplar Level Court. He was a rising senior and captain of the Moore High School soccer team. His coach is stunned over the tragedy.
We have practice from 8 to 10:30 a.m. And Dooney's there, captain is running stretches, running practices, helps us take everything down. And then at 3:20 or 5 o'clock, he's murdered.
Moore High School soccer coach Matias Martinez says Dooney was always the first one at practice and the last one to leave. Martinez says Dooney came to Louisville with his family from Africa, and he said he was a quiet leader who was a straight-A student and a fiercely talented soccer player.
He had his whole future ahead of him, and just for something senseless like this and unprovoked, it's mind-boggling.
Police have not made an arrest in this case. If you know anything about the shooting, call the anonymous tip line at 574-LMPD. Next week, people with an idea of how to stop and prevent violence when it comes to Louisville's youth will have a chance to win a grant and implement their ideas. It's part of Mayor Greenberg's new Safe Louisville Crime Plan. The grants will come from the city's Office of Violence Prevention, and the goal is to provide middle school-age youth who live in the Russell, Park Hill, Algonquin, and Southside Americana neighborhoods new opportunities and activities after school and on weekends throughout the 2025-26 school year. Applications for the grants will open on Monday.
Louisville health leaders say anyone who went to the Kroger store on Dixie Highway could be at risk of getting the measles. Mayor Greenberg's office says a child who tested positive for the virus visited the Kroger store on July 9th. So if you were inside the store between 9:15 a.m. and noon that day, Metro leaders say you may have been exposed to the virus. The health department is doing contact tracing and contacting anyone who might be impacted. Doctors say if you've received both doses of the measles vaccine, you should be protected from the virus. Today, you can weigh in on the Northwest Louisville Community Connectivity Study.
This is designed to find the best ways for the state to connect Northwest Louisville neighborhoods to the Ohio riverfront. The project plans to connect neighborhoods south of I-64 to areas around the Ohio River. Right now, the highway, railroad lines, flood walls, and other structures limit direct access to the riverfront. The study will work to improve those connections. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet is hosting the meetings today at the Portland Community Center. They're going to have two sessions. One will be from noon to 2 and the second one from 5 to 7.
Crews are delaying work to make Hospital Curve on I-65 safer. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet says it's postponing work that would have closed the southbound lanes near the Kennedy Bridge this weekend. Crews cited concerns about the weather. Transportation leaders say expansion joints and potholes around Hospital Curve need to be repaired. A new date for the work has not been set yet.
Well, just a few days to go try out some different burger combinations from restaurants all over the city.
It's Louisville Burger Week, and it's a perfect time to support Louisville's restaurants and all the best burgers that they have. Amazing combinations, very unique. Wave News reporter Marissa Burke joining us now from Brass Social about some pretty special burgers. And this is a brand new spot, Marissa.
Absolutely. They've only been open for about 7 months, and they tell me that this week they've been, 200 burgers a day?
Yes.
But what's special about these burgers is that the beef comes from your farm and someone else's farm.
Correct. So Double J Beef is our farm, and my neighbor is Ridge Creek Farms, and everything is grown in Spencer County and finished on site.
And then there's this circle of life that we were talking about too with the grain.
Yes, so we get our grain from Holsapple Brewing, so it's a spent brewer's grain, and we feed that to our cows, and then we've got these beautiful burgers, and then we come back and you can have a Holsapple beer or a Noble Funk beer this week and your burgers.
And guys, I do have to say the burgers are delicious, and they're just $8 if you want the fries. That's about a couple extra dollars, but it's worth it because when we talk about Burger Week, it's about trying new restaurants like Brass Social, and there's a special concept here too that you might not see other places.
Right, we are inside Next Level Ranges, so you can come and shoot some firearms Farms, and then come over and have a burger and a beer. So you just have to shoot before you drink. And then we have a special this week. If you dine with us, you get a coupon for half off range time or 20% off a training class.
So see, there's so much to look forward to, not just the burgers during Burger Week. You get to see something new and maybe try something new. Stay with us. We have more Wave Sunrise coming up after this break.
The heat of summer can be dangerous for people who spend a lot of time outside.
And that includes athletes and those who at JCPS have been practicing over the summer, so they're using special equipment to monitor the temperatures on the field. And if they reach dangerous level, coaches will limit the time players are on the field and go inside for practice. If a student starts showing signs of heat exhaustion, they also have equipment to help cool them down.
Sometimes the kids need someone to advocate for them, so that's what basically my job is, just to make sure that they're out here being safe and being their best. So if you're not feeling your best, if you're in conditions that don't allow you to be your best, that's what I'm here for.
JCPS also sets a 2-hour limit on practices. They schedule them too for cooler times like mornings or evenings, and also take frequent water breaks. Well, look at this new video this morning. It shows a New Jersey delivery driver nearly being hit with lightning. You can see the delivery person try to place a package at the front door. The strike nearly hits him. Thank goodness it didn't. The homeowner says the thunder was so loud, though, that it actually shook his house. Talk about a close call.
And then he finishes the delivery.
Right. Very nice. I would have dropped that and took off.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, see ya.
He calmly delivers it and then runs to his car. I would have dropped it and then run.
Yeah, right. No kidding. So could we get some lightning here this afternoon?
Yes, we can. And did you know that we can be 10 miles away from a storm and still get lightning in your area, which is why it's so important to be weather aware with what's going on around you. So we have a flood watch in place for those of you further to the east of the Louisville Metro, and that is because of that heavy rainfall that we've already seen in many of those spots, plus, of course, a little bit more of that heavy rain that's coming for later on today. Peeking into Simpsonville, we have that sun overhead, plenty of blue sky, but we are keeping an eye on a couple of spotty showers that have been trying to pop across parts of Wave Country. We see a couple of very small showers now for those of you in Adair County, and we are watching a few trying to show up as well for those of you over into portions of Jefferson County in Indiana. So what we're dealing with in those spots, those little pockets of some of that heavier rainfall now just fading to basically nothing as they move towards Madison and Manville. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. This is all ahead of this front that's going to be moving in later on this morning, bringing more of those showers and thunderstorms to our region. Your temperatures pretty comfortable for this time of the year, 60s and low 70s, so no surprise there. As we get closer to about 10, 11 o'clock, I certainly cannot rule out some of you in southern Indiana seeing some more of those scattered showers and thunderstorms popping in your area as early as that point because you're going to be so close to the front. But then for everybody else, once you get past noon and further into the afternoon, more of those storms are going to fire across wave country, torrential rainfall, strong wind gusts, all things that we have to keep an eye on. And once we head into the evening hours, rain chances do drop off, but they won't completely go away. So some of you may not see very much in terms of rainfall today. You may see as little as 1/10 of an inch of rain, but others could see up to 2+ inches of rainfall yet again. That's how much moisture is in our air as of right now. And keep in mind, we're going to be seeing highs today in the low 90s, and for every degree Fahrenheit that your temperature goes up, the atmosphere can hold 4% more moisture. So yeah, we'll have plenty of moisture in the air for later on this afternoon. On top of all of that, we have a marginal risk of severe weather in place for the entire region for today. Damaging wind gusts will be the main concern with some of those stronger thunderstorms. Then for tomorrow, that same front still hanging out with us, kind of being stubborn, not wanting to go anywhere. And because of that, we'll see those rounds of showers and thunderstorms for portions of your Friday morning. Then again, some scattered storms possible for tomorrow afternoon and evening. Then we roll into your Saturday. That front, yep, still nearby. Hasn't really gone anywhere. It's just going to kind of drift to the north just a bit, and we'll see more of those showers and storms really starting to fire up again for portions of your late Saturday morning into the afternoon and evening, and that front trying to drop down towards us for Sunday into Monday. This is going to keep those rounds of showers and thunderstorms through that time frame. So in between your Friday and your Monday, we could see widespread totals around 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. Remember, this is on top of the 2+ inches of rain that some of you have already seen this week, and that doesn't even include today's rainfall. So this is why we are watching that flash flooding threat oh so closely. Now for the middle of next week, the heat starts to build as we dry out. High pressure takes back over our forecast, and we can see more of those mid to even in some cases upper 90s for your highs. And here we go again. Another front shows up by next Friday, bringing some more of those showers and thunderstorms into our forecast.
Thank you, Tawana. Kentucky's Attorney General wants to help curb gun violence.
It is part of his response to the shooting spree where 2 women were killed and 3 others hurt, including a state trooper in Lexington. The trooper who was shot is Jude Ramillion. He was shot Sunday after officials say he pulled over Guy House near the Bluegrass Airport. He is still in the hospital, but expected to survive. Attorney General Russell Coleman says he gave Trooper Ramillion a small medallion representing the AG's office. Coleman says he plans to address convicted felons getting access to guns. He said in a release he, along with everyone who carries a badge, has a duty to go after people involved in gun violence in the state.
A Kentucky inmate is back in jail after police say he tried to escape by fighting 2 deputy jailers. State police say Jeremy Lynn tried to escape from the Ballard County Jail. Investigators say he entered the jail's control room and attacked a corrections officer who was trying to lock the doors. Lynn went on to assault another employee who entered the room. Lynn was eventually stopped and charged with escape and assault. Governor Andy Beshear is starting a new tour to help Democratic candidates across the country. Kentucky's governor started the tour in South Carolina yesterday. Beshear says he wants to help Democrats in the traditional Republican state win back voters ahead of the primary. The governor told a Columbia crowd the candidate's message should be focused on core issues like jobs, health care, education, transportation, and public safety.
I'm out there right now crisscrossing the country, just trying to be a common sense, common ground, get things done voice, not just for the Democratic Party, but for all of America. Next year, my focus is being the chair of the Democratic Governors Association. We're going to win races in places people don't expect, and that's going to create a lot more leaders who make that paragraph.
Beshear is one of several names rumored to run for president on the Democratic Party ticket in 2028. South Carolina could host the party's first presidential primary, as it did in 2024.
And we'll be right back with more Wave Sunrise Extra ahead.
JCPS's new superintendent is hosting a series of public meetings designed to engage with students and parents before the new school year starts. The first of Dr. Brian Yearwood's community conversations is Monday, July 28th. It's at Seneca High School from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Guests can ask questions and learn more about Dr. Yearwood's vision for the future of JCPS. The forums are open to the public. The next forum is at Fairdale High School on Wednesday, July 30th, and other dates are also on your screen right now. Plus, we have that full list and more on Dr. Yearwood's background in this story on wave3.com.
We're getting our first look inside the new Charlestown Elementary School. Greater Clark County Schools had a ribbon cutting yesterday afternoon for that new $55 million facility. One feature students really like, it's a slide from the second floor down to the first. Charlestown Elementary is at the former Jonathan Jennings Elementary School on Market Street. It combines students from Jonathan Jennings and Pleasant Ridge Elementary Schools with room for about 1,200 pre-K to 5th grade students.
It is a purposeful element. It's fun, but yet it's another element that helps celebrate achievement. So
Charlestown Elementary will welcome students for the upcoming school year. Greater Clark County School students go back July 31st.
Nearly 700,000 Ford vehicles will need repairs for the risk of catching fire. Certain Ford Bronco sport vehicles and Ford Escape vehicles are under the recall. Ford says the fuel injectors inside the recalled vehicles could crack and leak inside the engine compartment. Ford says if enough liquid fuel or even fuel vapor accumulates on the hot surface, a fire could start underneath the hood. The Ford Bronco Sport model years that are under the recall are from 2021 to 2024. The Ford Escape model years are from 2020 to 2022. Ford said it's developing a plan for owners to get repairs at a dealership.
And we're going to take a break, but we'll be back with more local news and another look at your weather because it is an alert day today.
Yes, it is.
This Wave News Update is sponsored by Oxmoor Auto Group.
Good morning, I'm Shannon Kogan. New this morning, the wife of former Clark County Sheriff Jamie Knoll wants a new judge to handle her case. Misty Knoll's lawyers say Judge Larry Medlock is biased. Judge Medlock is considering revoking a plea deal Knoll made earlier this month. Knoll's accused of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on the new Chapel EMS credit card. The judge set a hearing for Knoll to explain why she pled guilty in court, but gave interviews where she defended her actions. Knoll's lawyers say that plea deal should should not be revoked, and Judge Medlock is targeting Misty Knoll. They point to Judge Medlock attending an auction of Jamie Knoll's property in May. The next hearing in the case is set for August 12th. All right, it's going to be okay this morning, but it's later today, which is why we have an alert day.
Yeah, we're watching the alert day for later on this afternoon into the evening, really that noon to 7 p.m. time frame for the best opportunity for some of these stronger storms to move our way. For those of you east of the Louisville Metro, we have a flood watch in place in your area. And right now we're seeing plenty of sunshine, but a few extra clouds drifting in our SkyTrack camera in Simpsonville. And those clouds are coming along with a couple of isolated downpours that have tried to pop so far this morning. We're seeing a few of those just falling apart, moving out of Jefferson County in Indiana and into Trimble and Carroll counties, mainly light stuff there. A little bit of a heavier downpour now moving towards the Gradyville and Columbia area, and one just to the south of Glens Fork as well. Your temperatures are in the 60s and low 70s. We'll end up in the upper 80s and low 90s for this afternoon. A couple more of these isolated showers, yes, possible throughout the morning, but our main rain chance shows up after lunch and stays with us through the afternoon and evening. This is when we can see the damaging winds, the heavy rain across our area. So that localized flash flooding threat is something we'll be watching closely. Overall, things looking good on the roads as you're heading out. One stalled vehicle, but that's off to the side, not slowing down traffic.
Hey, thanks for staying with us here on Sunrise Extra. I'm Olivia Russell. It looks like we already have a couple people in our comments saying good morning. Want to wish a very good Thursday morning to you. Well, new on Sunrise, oral arguments are set to start today in a lawsuit against Givaudan. Lawsuit says the force of the explosion blew out the home's windows, damaged floors, and caused foundational problems. The lawsuit is seeking compensation for Roberts and Gomez-Bridges' injuries. Gomez-Bridge says she's been experiencing headaches since that explosion that so many of us remember. Happening now, Hardin County Sheriff's deputies want help to find a robbery suspect. Deputies say this person walked into the Eastview Food Mart earlier this month with a gun. Investigators don't have any details about the getaway car they used, but if you have any information on who this person is, you are asked to contact the Hardin County Sheriff's Office. This morning, a man is in jail after police say he killed a woman back in May. Officers arrested Jamie Shelby Tuesday in Jeffersonville. Police say he shot and killed Latasha White. White's body was found in the woods with a gunshot wound around Newport Road on May 7th. White's family had not heard from her in 10 days before her body was discovered. LMPD says White and Shelby were in a relationship. Shelby is now charged with murder, domestic violence, robbery, and possession possession of a handgun by a convicted felon. Well, Metro drivers know of several deadly crashes on the 2nd Street Bridge. So many of us know very well how scary it can be just driving across it. In some cases, we even remember that semi just dangling off the side of the 2nd Street Bridge. And now lawmakers are looking for ways to improve its safety. Wave News reporter Julia Richardson talked to Wendy Dant-Chesser about how she wants to give drivers some peace of mind.
Like everyone's on top of one another.
Trey Landrum is the part owner of Wrongside 812, a Jeffersonville bar right off of the 2nd Street Bridge. Landrum says he drives over the bridge twice a day and has noticed several accidents in the couple years his bar has been open.
It's pretty frequent. It seems to be happening more so regularly than ever before.
Kentucky State Police report LMPD has responded to a total of 182 crashes on the bridge in the last 5 years. A few of those crashes from the past couple of weeks have been deadly. One incident last year led to a semi-truck dangling off of the bridge after a pickup truck crashed into it.
We all as a nation watched that ordeal, and then there would be additional problems on the bridge. We had more social media concerns.
Representative Wendy Dant-Chesser hosted a town hall to assess the community's concerns on Wednesday.
I had no preset expectations of what today would turn out to be, but I'm thrilled that we have an action list of items to start talking about.
I'm going to show you a little bit of what it's like to drive on this bridge. Now, some drivers we talk to say they worry about people speeding and also just the narrow size of these lanes. But some of the solutions presented at today's meeting were reducing the number of lanes, better enforcing the speed limit, and also limiting what types of vehicles are allowed on the bridge at all.
See, when you drive across it, your wheels are very near to the curb, and if a big truck passes you, you're hanging on to your steel steering wheel, hoping you can get through without getting scratched up.
Russell Johnson tells me he sees several crashes from his high-rise on the Indiana side of the bridge. Although some solutions are more complicated, he thinks the speeding issue could be addressed more easily.
Most of us don't understand why they can't take a picture of a license plate and send out a fine, and I think if they started ticketing people for speeding on that bridge, it would solve the problem. But it seems to be more to it than just what sounds like a simple solution.
Representative Dant-Chesser says she's taking that feedback from the meeting and she'll be taking it to the State House in Indianapolis, hoping to find some solutions. Well, happening today, Kroger wants to help shoppers in South Louisville prepare to find other options as the company closes one of its stores. The South 3rd Street Kroger location is closing soon, so to prepare its regular shoppers, the company is hosting a Meet Your Store event today. Starting at 1 o'clock, customers can go to the new Cardinal Kroger location on South 2nd Street to check out the layout, find some transportation services, plus pharmacy assistance, and they can even get some exclusive coupons while they're there. There will be a dedicated Target shuttle for those in the neighborhood to travel between the two Kroger locations. And we know how chaotic it can be just finding a new Kroger store and figuring out how the flow of things goes. Indiana State Fair will run from Friday, August 1st to the 17th, and we now know a list of all the themed days. So $2 Tuesdays will allow families to pay just $2 for admission, $2 for midway rides, and $2 for some food options. Sounds like a great deal there. There will also be a $5 value menu each day for different food choices. Military and First Responders Day is on Wednesday, August 6th. Well, we are halfway through the summer, but some families already thinking about going back to school because it's never too early to get prepared. And not just getting a head start, though, some want to save some cash. NBC's Gordon Tokumatsu has more on the cost of school supplies.
Santiago Escobedo is still enjoying his summer vacation.
I might need some calculators.
But he walked us around Dollar King today to show us what will be on his radar.
If I get these small ones, probably for each class.
When he and his mom, Minerva, are shopping for his freshman year in high school in just a few weeks. In the past, they'd go to a big box store, Target, Walmart, Staples.
Maybe some scissors.
But ongoing inflation and new promised tariffs are driving families like his to discount stores like this. So we asked him if that matters.
No, not really. Just making sure I have pencils that are in my backpack and so I have them ready for school.
$8, but we're at $2.99.
Dollar King's owner, David Mansourian, is counting on that approach. Families abandoning the big chains for substantially lower prices at stores like his, where his closeout and liquidation merchandise is less directly affected by tariffs, but just as good. It's not stuff that you necessarily need a name brand for.
You don't. A pencil is a pencil. We're trying to make sure that we're there for the customer that can't afford to go there and spend.
The National Retail Federation says families with K through 12 students are expected to spend an average of nearly $900 on back to school this year. A CNBC report says the average cost per child will hit about $570. College students, $1,400. And not just because of tariffs. Lower income families are also budgeting for cuts in SNAP benefits and Medicaid. It all adds up.
$8 here, $5 for a folder, $3 for a pack of paper.
Elizabeth Dobbs works here, but is also a mom to a 5th grader. She says lots of this stuff is expendable anyway. Why spend more for something that won't last 2 weeks?
They lose it.
Break it.
Break it, yeah.
Supplies, clothing, shoes, and electronics. Look for back-to-school prices 20% higher than before the pandemic, says NBC, and certain items like backpacks 30% higher.
And to help with the cost of school supplies, Wave News, the Neighborhood Place, and Furniture Fair are teaming up to provide free school supplies for local students. So you can drop off supplies at either Furniture Fair location now through July 30th, and your donations will give local kids a great start to the new school year, something that is so important. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. You're watching Wave Sunrise Extra. Some Kentucky teachers and staff are worried that a new state law could prevent them from helping their students in an emergency. And some are using that chaos inside the Kentucky Expo Center on Sunday as an example of that. The law requires education and school staff to only communicate with students through traceable online platforms, which their school district has approved. But when emergencies happen and staff need to talk to students quickly, some educators worry it will prevent them from checking on kids' safety. Special education teacher Allison Sloan co-founded a group called Kentucky Teachers in the Know. Sloan says several peers had to let their supervisors know they broke the law while trying to find their students in Sunday's panic.
And a lot of the biggest problem right now is everyone says, oh, just use the approved app. Well, a lot of districts don't have the approved app in place yet. And even if they do, the students may not necessarily have that on their phone and have not had training on how to use it because we're not back in school.
Every district is required to have an opt-out form, so unless parents provide written consent, staff and volunteers cannot use personal devices, social media, or third-party apps to communicate with their students. Well, here's something that could make packing for your next vacation a little bit less stressful. The TSA is considering more changes that may make it easier for you to get through the airport security. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the agency may revise the size for carry-on liquid containers. Current policy allows travelers to carry on liquids in 3.4-ounce containers or smaller. Anything bigger than that must be put in your checked bag. Noem didn't give any details as to if or when the revisions might be made, but I have to say, it would make packing a lot less stressful because I'm always worried that I'm above that limit. Last week, the Department of Homeland Security also announced plans to end the TSA's shoe-off policy. Definitely helping travel there. $11 million are on the line for public radio and TV stations across Kentucky. That's if Congress cuts federal funds to public broadcasting. Public broadcasters want their audience to know that losing federal funds might do more than just put their favorite programming at risk. The stations of Louisville Public Media operate under a $6.5 million budget, almost all of it from memberships and private donations. 5% of the budget comes from the now endangered federal grants. LPM management says losing that could result in cuts to jobs, content, or even public events.
We're talking about educational programs, and we're talking about emergency alert systems. We're talking in other Kentucky stations. These are the stations that are the pinnacle and the point of contact for tornadoes.
We also heard the same warnings from KET and their 16 stations. KET could lose more than $4 million in federally funded grants. Much of that is spent on locally produced programs. Now to a closer look at the latest inflation numbers. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the Consumer Price Index rose in June. NBC's Christine Romans breaks down what the numbers mean for your budget.
When did you have to be willing to spend almost $10 on Oreos to get a deal?
The cost of living, issue number one for American shoppers, and new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showing inflation is creeping back up, rising 0.3% last month, up 2.7% from a year ago, and in turn driving up the costs of some linens, video equipment, clothes, furniture, and toys. Appliances jumped too last month, by the most in that category since 2020. It may be early evidence that steep tariffs are showing up in your family's bills.
The numbers tell us that inflation and especially the tariffs are starting to bite. It's not a huge increase, it's not a huge spike yet, but you no longer have to squint to see it.
Sneakflation has arrived.
Sneakflation. You'll remember its cousin, shrinkflation, where bags are smaller but the price stays the same.
I have just been victimized by shrinkflation, and I'm pretty mad about it.
But sneakflation is a tactic where companies find subtle ways to pass on their costs without changing the listed price.
I got in the latest order of my toilet paper. The rolls are way smaller, the paper's way thinner, the quality has gone way downhill. Do you think they've changed the price on them though? Mm-mm.
Like lowering the quality of the product, shortening return windows, and ending free shipping. But consumers are noticing the hidden prices and pressing pause on their spending. In a recent survey of online shoppers, more than 30% of respondents delayed purchases due to uncertainty over prices. A new Federal Trade Commission rule went into effect back in May, cracking down on tactics used to hide total prices from consumers, like adding hidden fees. And with inflation rates likely to keep increasing over the next few months, experts anticipate businesses will find new, sneakier ways to pass the costs of tariffs onto consumers.
Just go back to the basics of being a shopper, being a good bargain hunter. You really have to sit there and look again, who has the lowest price, and is this actually a bargain?
Some of the other sneaky tactics to look out for: you might have to spend more to qualify for free or overnight shipping, and you also might have a shorter return window and potentially face restocking fees. So they are sneaky, but that's how they get you. We'll be right back.
Regardless, we're going to have a great season this year. We are. We're going to have a great season. We're going to rely on having the #1 culture in the country. But we're even going to be better because we just found out about an hour ago that Ali Khalifa got his ring. Let's freaking go!
What a special moment there. U of L head coach Pat Kelsey says his star center, Ali Khalifa, will be eligible to play for the Cards this season. Khalifa won an appeal after initially being ruled ineligible to play. Coach Kelsey and Khalifa say it was a difficult fight against the NCAA. It always is, but both say they're relieved that Khalifa will get to play his final year of college ball.
I was very confident too that I would be eligible with the right supporting staff we have, our compliance team, Josh Hurd, our lawyers and everything, and like my supporting, and my teammates as well, my brothers, they supported me throughout the whole process.
Everybody was out in the hall, and I was supposed to bring them all in and then do the announcement and then have this big celebration, and I forgot they were out there. So after we did it, Josh came in and goes, "Yeah, man, thanks, appreciate it, but I heard it was cool."
That excitement just showing the new culture and family there for U of L basketball. But the Cards found success in the first year of the Kelsey era, making it to the ACC Tournament Championship and then an appearance in March Madness. Kelsey said all of his players are now back in Louisville, and he's starting to see how this year's squad will come together.
But as far as doing something different, I mean, every team is different. I've said it before, it's like Forrest Gump said, it's like a box of chocolates every year. You know, part of this summer with all teams around the country is figuring out their team. You know, it's whether it's on the floor, off the floor, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. You have a sense in recruiting as to, you know, your vision of how those pieces are all going to fit together and work. But until they actually get here, they start interacting, they start competing together, they play every day. You learn more about your team as you go into the fall.
And a lot of people wondering how the Cards are going to shape up this year. They'll get their first look as the Cards tip off the season with an exhibition game against Kansas at the Yum Center on October 24th. Well, if you want a blast from the past here, tomorrow the Ville will tip things off in the TBT. Some of the new faces include former Trinity star Jay Scrubb, who's joining his former Rocks teammate David Johnson.
This year we've been crossing paths in the G League, and then just anytime I can talk to him, we kind of threw a TBT pitch at him, and then when he said he was on board, first thing I started thinking of was the Trinity days and reminiscing, so I'm excited.
And Johnson, Scrubb, and the rest of the Ville will open the TBT at 12:30 on Saturday at Freedom Hall, hosting Boston versus Cancer. It's always so cool to see those former Cards out there on the court. Well, today, Nothing Bundt Cakes is celebrating the grand opening of its Okolona bakery. The ribbon cutting starts this morning at 10 o'clock at Nothing Bundt Cakes on Outer Loop. The event will feature a ribbon cutting and details on the bakery's commitment to giving back to the community. That includes a partnership day happening tomorrow, where 20% of sales will be donated to support youth mentoring programs at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Kentuckiana. Great cakes for a great cause. Well, the city is celebrating progress on parks this year with a special event today in Central Park. So the city has hosted more openings and ribbon cuttings at parks than in any 6-month period. The projects include the new pool at Algonquin Park and new courts at Fern Creek Park and the new pavilion at Riverside. Today's celebration is at 6 o'clock, and there will be free arts and crafts activities and a special performance by Kentucky Shakespeare. That's the video you're seeing there on your screen right now. Grammy-nominated comedian and actor Jim Gaffigan is performing all new material during a series of sets in Louisville. Gaffigan will perform and film a whiskey-focused stand-up set this fall. The A Bourbon Set special is happening on October 7th through the 9th at Baumhard Theater. Pre-sale tickets went on sale today. Gaffigan has made dozens of film and TV appearances and released more than a dozen comedy albums. 8 of them have won Grammy Awards, so clearly he's a pretty funny guy. Might want to check that out. Well, thanks so much for joining us here on Wave Now. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Hope you have a great Thursday.